Hi guys, and welcome to Mindset Learn Extra Live. Can you believe it's that time of the day? It is Maths Lit, and today we're talking about rate and percentage, and we've got Hayley joining us.
Hi guys.
So Hayley, tell us, we're chatting about rate and percentage.
Rate and percentage. Looking forward to the lesson. Right, what is a rate? A rate is a special type of ratio. Hope you remember from last week when we were dealing with ratios, and you remember your ratios were one number relating to another number. Now what we mean by this is a special type of ratio. It is basically comparing two different quantities. Two different, and that's what's important, two different quantities. We can deal with them, once we've decided what the quantities are, we can deal with them very much the same way that we did last week with the ratio. So look at some examples. The cost of petrol per litre. We would talk about rands per litre. Now that's very important. I've got how much will it cost me? So let's look at the moment. What is our petrol price at the moment? I think our petrol price is 10 Rand 77 per litre. And we hope that's not going to go up too soon, but I have a feeling it will. We're looking at two different values. We're looking at how much money, and we're looking at how many litres. And remember, the per means divided by, and litre will always mean 1. So we're paying at the moment 10 Rand 77 for 1 litre. Now that seems like a huge amount of money. Indy, how do you find that petrol price?
Very, very expensive. Hayley, very.
Very expensive.
I'm going to have to get a bicycle.
Okay, so now that we've decided it is expensive, but unfortunately we have to get from one place to the next, and it involves petrol. Let's look at some other examples. We've got the distance traveled. Okay, speed is the distance traveled per hour. How do we talk about speed? Now this is something that you guys will know, and we've seen it in the challenge question. We will talk about traveling at 80 kilometers per hour. And we can write this as 80 kilometers per hour. And that means we're traveling in 1 hour, we're traveling 80 kilometers. So that's why we talk about it as a rate rather than a ratio. But I can write it the same way I did the other day when I was writing my ratios. I had it as 80 over 1. And then I can manipulate this the same way, I lost my circle, manipulate this the same way that I would any ratio. So that's what's nice about rate. What's important for you to remember is sometimes you don't pick up straight away that it is a rate question. Look out for the word per. Look out for that word. It's a really important word because it tells you the other value, and it tells you how many of that other value we have. So I can think of hundreds of different rates. So for example, how many pages you read in a minute, how many words you can type on the computer in a minute. I'm sure Indy being on Facebook is quite quick.
I would love to know the rate of answers I post back to you on Facebook. Maybe one day we can even go over that.
Maybe we should calculate that. But you see, we've got two different values. So Indy wants to know the rate, that how fast she's posting back the answer, how many answers she's posting in a period of time. So we would say, okay, she says she's posting how many in a minute or in an hour, or we could take any two different values. Pretty interesting exercise, Indy. Let's see what else we've got on our board. I have to look at my mark. Right, let's do some calculations. So we're going to be looking at speed. Now, an important thing about speed is very often they're going to give you the formula, which is distance divided by time. But I want you to think about the concept of speed. And remember, I've just said to you, speed is written in as kilometers per hour. So I don't even need to remember this formula because I can see it is my distance, because that's how many kilometers I drive, and my time is divided by my time. So my formula, although I have been given it, and it usually is easier when we've been given the formula, I can figure it out just from the word speed. Okay, let's read the question. So the question says, and I think maybe we should get a little bit more space, and let's change our color. How about pink? Right, James is traveling a total distance of 58 kilometers to and from work. From home to work. I think that should be from home to work. Okay, so maybe let's change this. From home to work. He takes 42 minutes because of traffic. We need to calculate his speed in kilometers per hour. So we can use our formula. We're going to be looking at our distance divided by our time. Okay, so what was his distance? We're talking about 58 kilometers. Now my answer needs to be in kilometers per hour. So my kilometers, I'm fine with that. Let me see if I divide this by the time it takes him is 42 minutes. 42 minutes. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing there's a problem. So let me get another color to show you the problem. That is my problem. You're going to get the answer in minutes if I just divide those. And then I'm going to get how many kilometers he travels in a minute. But that's not what they're asking me. They want kilometers per hour. So what do I have to do to this? Let's find a little bit more space here. I need to change this into hours. So how do I change 42 minutes into hours? I have 42 minutes, and I want to know how many hours that is. Well, how many minutes in an hour? So we can divide by 60 minutes because there's 60 minutes in an hour. So whenever you're converting from minutes to hours, divide by 60. And we can get an answer for that. And now let's use our calculator. Right, our calculator's there. We've got 42 minutes divided by 60 minutes to get the hours. And I see that it is 0.7 hours. So going back to my notes, so I'm going to change this 42 minutes into 0.7 hours because that's going to give me the correct units. So now we can use a calculator to do this calculation. So we've got 58 divided by 0.7 and I get an answer of 82.86. We're going to round it off. 82.86. Okay. I need a pen. He's traveling at 86.82. Let's try that again. Having a little bit of a dyslexic moment. 86.82 kilometers per hour. He's traveling fairly fast. Okay. Does the answer make sense? Now I want you to think about this. I want you to think about, does it make sense? He's traveling less than an hour. And he's traveling nearly 60 kilometers away. And he's traveling, I'd say, at about 3/4 of an hour. It takes him to travel that 60 kilometers. Are we expecting a number that is bigger or a number that is smaller? Okay, so quite clearly, his speed has to be bigger. We're looking for a bigger number because he's traveling that distance in less than an hour. Okay, I hope that helps. Right, let's move on to the next question. Right, now we've got a different rate. We're looking at, move that down again. Mrs. Lamini buys chicken from her butcher. He advertises a special price of 17.95 Rand per kilogram. So what is my rate? I'm looking at price per 1 kilogram. So she's paying 17.95 for 1 kilogram. So remember, I can write this, I'm going to write it up here, as 17.95 for 1 kilogram. Okay. If a chicken has a mass of 1,325 kilograms, how much will she pay for this chicken? Okay, before we start the calculation, are we expecting a number that is smaller or a number that is bigger than our 17.95? I hope that you're all answering this in front of the TV and you're shouting and you're going, no, it has to be bigger. It has to be bigger because I'm buying more than 1 kilogram of chicken. So let's do the calculation and see if we get an answer that is bigger. And this is something that I want you to get into the habit of doing. Check your answer. Think about it before you actually type on your calculator. Because I know the kids that I teach love saying, but it says so on the calculator. Isn't that something that we always hear, Indy?
It is often, actually.
Okay, so going back to let's do A. Right. We have 17.95 for 1 kilogram. Now I want to know what it's going to cost me for 1,325 kilograms. And what I want to know is how much is it actually going to cost. So what I need to do is I need to, the same way I did last week, and I'm setting it out a little bit differently just so that you can actually see a number of different ways of setting out your work. I am increasing this 1 kilogram to 1,325. And how do I do that? Well, I times by 1,325. Maybe I should have done that in a different color. Okay, let's get a different color. So what do I need to do to the one side? I need to do to the other. So here I'm also going to times by 1,325. So 17.95 times 1,325. So I can actually write that. Keeps moving up. We can write that out again. What I have to do is 17.95 and times that by 1,325. And now on our calculators, we clear that. We've got 17.95. Always check the calculator as you type in that you've got the right numbers. And we're timesing by 1,325. And we get an answer of 23 Rand 78. So back to my answer was 23 Rand 78. Hey, number that's bigger, I'm happy with a number that's bigger. Remember, it's money. Money is always 2 decimal places. And I think that we've answered the question. Let's just double check. Here's a chicken, has a mass of 1,325 kilograms. How much will she pay for this chicken? We have answered the question. Right, let's work out now with Mrs. Dlamini. It's going to be, Mrs. Dlamini decides that she can spend 60 Rand on chickens because the price is so low. How many kilograms of chicken can she buy? And now we're working kind of backwards. She's only got 60 Rand. We want to know how much chicken she can buy. So we've got our same rate, the same rate. So let's change the color. We've still got 17 Rand 95. And that was for 1 kilogram. Now I want to know, well, okay, if I have 60 Rand, how much in kilograms can I buy? There's my question mark. So I need to decide, what am I doing from 17.95 to get 60? Now that's not quite as easy as moving the 1 to 1,325. So how are we going to do this? I hope you remember from last week what we did. Indy, do you think you can check if anybody remembers what we did last week?
Guys, let me know if there's any, well, if you remember what we did last week on the page. Guys, get chatting. I'm loving what's happening on the Facebook page. I just want to share this with you quickly. Friedenberg High School actually liked one of our comments. Guys, if your school does have a Facebook page, let them know about Mindset Learn. They can click and they can share and they can take all the content from our page. We love sharing. We love learning more and we love learning extra and we love talking to people. So yeah, guys, get sharing, get chatting. That's facebook.com/learn extra. My name is Indiana and I'm also sitting on Twitter. I'm actually chatting to you guys and it's @learn extra and that's with an XTRA. And Hayley, back to the lesson.
Okay, let me revise this little lesson. We need to make 17.95 and we need to change it into 60. So the only way I can do that didn't look like an equal sign. The only way I can do this is I need to times it by 60 because that's how I get the 60. But I need to divide it by 17.95 because then my 17.95s are going to cancel. Or like I'd like to say to our kids, times by whatever you're changing it into and divide by what you started with. So we're going to times here by 60 and divide by 17.95. And what am I going to do to my 1 kilogram? What I did to the top, I'm going to times it by 60 and divide by 17.95. Okay, so we can take our 60 Rand and divide it by 17 Rand 95. Now, I'm talking about rands, but you can see that I haven't actually written the rand sign in. You can, but it's not necessary. But where it is necessary is in your final answer. Whenever you've got your final solution, you need to always, always, always include your units. So for now, the rands kind of just get in my way. So I'm going to calculate that 60 divided by 1795. So let's do that calculation. I'm going to get the calculator up. Right, let's clear that. And 60 divided by 17.95. And I get an answer of 3,34. Again, we're going to round off. So I want to talk about this rounding in a second. 3,34. I'm going to come back to that rounding. So 3,34. And what was that? 3,34 kilograms. And that is how much Mrs. Lamini can buy with her 60 Rand. Now, let's just do this calculation. If I had to round that, I've rounded it to 3,34. Just lost my pen. Okay.
That's okay.
So I rounded to 3,34. I want to take that and now see how much is this actually going to cost her. So I've got 3,34 and I'm going to times it by 17.95 to see she's going to be paying 59.95 Rand. She's going to get a little bit of change. But if I rounded this incorrectly, and I'm going to go back to that solution we had, we had 60 divided by 17.95, and then answer 3,34. If I round it to 3,35, she actually doesn't have enough money to round up. So you've got to be aware when we're rounding, whether we're rounding up or we're rounding down. So let's just show you she didn't have enough money. If I made that 3,35 times 17.95, what does that cost her? It costs her 60 Rand and 13 cents. Now she doesn't have that 13 cents. So she wanted to budget 60 Rand. So you have to be careful whenever you're rounding. So just be aware of that. And don't forget, we need our units. So our units was 3,34 kilograms, and that was the answer. Just go back, double check. Did we actually answer the question? We decided that she can spend 60 Rand on chicken because the price is low. How many kilograms of chicken can she buy? I would love to see kilograms at this price, Indy, wouldn't you?
I wish, if only.
If only chickens were 17.95 per kilogram. I've now got a landline rate. This is something that we can all relate to. I know that my cell phone is always way too high, and my rate that I'm paying is way too much. What is the rate that I'm paying? I'm talking about how much is it costing me per minute or per second that I'm on the phone. So that's our rate. We're looking at a landline, and I was talking about my cell phone. So let's look at our landline. We've got a rate of 0,74 for 89 seconds. 89 seconds. How much would a call lasting 4 minutes 27 cost? Now what I need to do with this is I need to get a rate per second, and then I can multiply it by however many seconds I've got. So we can do this, or we could actually deal with this as we would a ratio. Should we try this as a ratio? Let's try something different with this one. So I'm going to look at, I've got 0,74, that's the cost, for 89 seconds. Now I'm looking at how much will be 4 minutes and 27 seconds. But I've got a problem. I can see a problem. Straight away I can see a problem. So where's my problem? That is in minutes and seconds. And the one thing about your ratios or your rates, you have to be dealing in the same unit. So I can't work out the cost until I actually change this into seconds. So how do we change, my thing moved. How do we change my 427 into seconds? Well, let's work on that. So let's extend the page a little bit. I've got 4 minutes, so I can times that by how many seconds are there in a minute? There are 60 seconds. So that is 240 seconds. And then I've got an additional 27 seconds, so just add those, and I end up with 267 seconds. Right, so that is what we're going to use there. So let's delete that, then we don't have any more problems, and I've got 267 seconds. And now I want to know the cost. So going back up, let's move a little bit up. We need to change the one into the other. Okay, so how do we remember how we change it now? we're going to say 267, sorry, we're going to say 89 times by 267 and divide by 89. So we're going to times by the second number and divide by the first number. And whatever we do to the one side, we do to the other. 267 divided by 89. And we can use our calculators to do that for us. I can find my calculator. Right. I can use a fraction button, or I can just do 267 times by 0.74 and divided by 89. And let's see what answer we get. We get 2 Rand 22. So that's a nice answer. 2 Rand 22. Yeah, I'm struggling today with this pen. So my answer is it's going to cost me 2 Rand 22 to speak for 267 seconds. So have I answered the questions? How much would a call lasting 4 minutes and 27 seconds cost? And I have answered the question. Okay, so we've got an answer. I could have done it with a rate. What would I have done first? I would have worked out the cost per second. What I want to just say to you right now is, remember, if you work this out per second, I'm going to be dividing by 89. So let me just show you that quickly. Just want to, we had, it was 0.74 or 74 cents for 89 seconds. And if I want to know the cost in rands per second, I think I lost a C here, I'm going to be dividing, that's for 1 second. So I'm going to divide that by 89 and divide 74 by 89. And what I just want to show you is on your calculator, you're going to have 0.74 divided by 89, and you're going to get a very, very small number. What I want you to do is, if you get that very, very small number, is don't be scared of it, because your calculator will remember the number. And then you can do whatever you need to do with that number to calculate the answer. If you understand, I hope you understand what I'm saying. Don't worry about very, very small numbers. But once we've got this very, very small number up, let's just discuss it for a second, because it doesn't happen that often, and I haven't seen it before in my teachings with you. I've got an answer of 8,3146, it carries on, times 10 to the minus 3. What does that actually mean? So I'm quickly going to change this, get a little bit more space to discuss what that number means. I keep doing that. It was 8,31. Let's just round it to 2 decimal places. It was 8,31 times 10 to the minus 3. That actually means that it is 0,00831. That is the number. So that was the rands per second. So it was less than 1 cent per second. So going scientific notation, when you've got a negative number, you need to move your decimal as many places to the left. So we started with our decimal here, and we moved it 1, 2, 3 places, and we replaced it all with zeros. So that's just on the side, nothing really to do with today's lesson, but I always like it when I see a teaching moment. Isn't that wonderful, Indy? So we can just teach extra things.
No, it's great. You know what would we say? Learn more, learn extra, right?
Absolutely.
Hey? Exactly.
Let's see if we can do the next question. Right. Love this question. Okay. So I'm going to read through the question, and I'm going to see how far we can actually get before we have to take another break. So we're looking at the cost of petrol. Price per litre. There is my rate. How much is it costing me per litre? And for me to get the cost of actually using that, I'm going to times it by the number of litres. So they've actually given me the formula to work with. On average, we've got James now. James uses about 45 litres of petrol per week. There's another rate all of a sudden. It's how many litres he uses in a week. In January, he budgeted 475 Rand for petrol per week. So we're still dealing with this per week. So I don't think it's going to come into our equation too much, but we'll discuss it in a moment. We're going to look at the table below and use the information to help answer the questions which follow. Now, I love it when they give you tables. So I hope you can see this table. Right. It is taken out of the AA website, and we're looking at our fuel pricing for 2012. So taking it straight out, and we've got two different values here. We've got our petrol, we've got the reef unleaded and LRP, we've got the coast unleaded and LRP, and we've got two different dates. Now it's very important whenever you get a table to first of all take a step back, take a deep breath, and think, you know what, I can do this. Tables tend to make, well, the kids that I teach tend to make them a little bit nervous. Oh, there's so many numbers and I don't know what you want from me. That's their kind of reaction. I want you to think about this carefully. Look at the table and analyze the table before you even start looking at the questions, because it'll actually put your mind at rest that the table's not that hard. And the more tables you're exposed to, and hopefully I can expose you to lots of tables in these lessons, the easier it'll be for you to actually answer the questions. So we're looking at the petrol on the 4th of January 2012, and we're looking at a price for 93 at the reef, a price for 95 at the reef, a price for the LRP, the reef, and then we've got our coastal price for each one. And then on the 1st of February, those prices changed. And remember earlier I was doing a question when I said to you petrol price is R10.77. This, if you don't remember or understand what does this 1077 mean, we've got to think to ourselves, it hasn't told me anywhere what they're quoting that price in. But I can quite easily see that that has to be cents, because it doesn't make sense for me to be paying 1,077 Rand per litre. So clearly that is cents. What did 45 litres of unleaded 93 petrol cost on the reef on the 5th of January? So we're going to go to our table and we're going to actually take a colour. Let's try green. So I don't know if yellow will be seen that clearly. 45 litres of unleaded petrol. We're looking for 93 on the reef. So we go to the reef, we're looking for 93, and we're looking at the 5th of January. So the 5th of January is R10.43. Remember I said to you that was in rands, in cents, so we've just changed it. So, but we want to know 45 litres of petrol, so we're going to times that by 10 Rand, I can't remember what the rate was, R10.43. R10.43. And let's use a calculator, and we've got 45 times by R10.43, and we get our answer. It costs him R469.35. R469.35. Remember, you need a unit, so it is rands. What did the same amount of petrol cost him on the 14th of February? Well, our rate went up. So the 14th of February was now what we're paying at the moment, R10.77. So let's see if we can go down to our page, and we've got our 45 litres. Now we're timesing it by R10.77, and let's quickly get an answer for that before we run out of time. 45 times R10.77, and we get an answer of R484.65. What was it? 480, I've forgotten what the number was. R484.65. 484, I need a pen to do that. 484.65 cents. So you can see that the petrol going up has made quite a big change.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.